Yes.
My name
You want to be
is Mr. Pontius Martin.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
My name is Francis Patrick Martin. I was born in Halifax, October 5, 1924, and I was brought up in a good old Irish family.
Ralph Joseph Patrick Curran. And I was born March 19th, 1923 in Halifax. And that was the start of lots of traveling around.
I was born on December the 8th. That's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
Oh, there he goes. See you on the show.
1926. And I was born of the very same good Irish family as Frank was.
His brother will never live it down.
So what are sort of the dimensions? Like for me, I can't even sort of picture when you think about Irishtown. What is that? Sort of what part of Halifax am I thinking about? Is it sort of right
Frank
down
can
along
probably tell you
the?
better than I, but I believe it to be Lower Water Street, and then initially Lower Water Street, and then Barrington Street initially.
Right.
Initially,
Up
and then
the
down
hill.
to George Street area.
Okay.
Initially,
Right.
and then of course.
It actually started, Fred, right at the undercut there, at the very end of Barrington Street. It used to be Pleasant Street,
Okay.
Yeah.
and that's where it started.
Yeah.
And it worked up, main concentration was Hollis, lower part of Maurice, and Lower Water Street, right up to almost to George.
Right. And it
That's
was
the past
homes
cycle.
and businesses, right? Sort of where people both lived and worked. Yeah.
And that's how it expanded to include St. Mary's Basilica. It was the first Catholic church in the area that I'm aware of, you know, and
What's
very
that?
large Basilica.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And the Irish people was there before
St.
on
Peter's
their
Church,
behalf.
that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then later on, as Frank just mentioned about down at the underpass, at the foot of what is now Barrington Street, later on, what they call it Irishtown did expand to the foot of Vingle Street. Some of the people, the big
It was
big
same,
large
right?
homes, the larger,
Right.
Yeah,
the people who owned some of the businesses and could afford,
yeah.
went a little further south.
Right.
I think if you went down around Mitchell or Victoria Road or Bland, in that area, you're talking almost
That was
expanded
really
up. Yeah.
the Irish town I know. It was,
Yeah.
but it was Irish
Yeah.
in character.
That's sort of an Irish part that you'd be kind
And
of
a
conscious
green-
of down there. Would it be?
Well,
Green Street.
Green Bank.
yeah, well, we lived on Green Street.
Right.
Yeah,
Did you?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a-
Well, I mean, I don't remember it.
yeah.
Family lived there for a few years. But then, after my mother died in 26, we moved up to corner of Monaghan's Lane and Goddardson Street.
Yes.
And we were surrounded by it. I mean,
Yes.
I said, well, Pat and I were walking down the street in Dingle. I thought, you know, I had a weird feeling because here I'm seeing all these names that people that have been neighbors. And like Uniacke Street, I think every damn house going down from Goddard Street was Irish.
Yeah.
Brunswick Street down below, going towards the St. Pat's Church.
That's how it expanded to include St. Patrick's
Yeah,
Church.
exactly, yeah.
That's
And,
how it grew.
and as a matter of fact, you know, we hear much around here about the way the black population was treated in Africa, though.
Yeah.
The more modern version of that would have been when the federal government, with the connivance of the city government, kicked the people out of their homes there that were, now they were confiscated, they were homeowners, no doubt. A lot of them, but not all of them, but most of them probably were, but they didn't have any choice. They were kicked the hell out to make the way for Uniacke Square.
Really?
Mostly Irish people.
Really?
Yeah.
So the land was appropriated in the same way that it has been. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, with nobody that I knew being in favor. And I'm working with the corporation at that time,
Yeah.
were involved in that. The planner was a Brit, and so we had some interesting discussions that weren't recorded. It was stupid,
I bet you did.
stupid, you know, absolutely crazy thing to do in the first place. Just disrupt that whole community was
Yeah.
a good spot.
Now, my mother told me, my grandma, my mother, there was another big settlement of Irish out in Dutch Village Road. I didn't know.
I was just going to jump in with them before you start, but carry on, Frank.
Huh?
Carry on.
And Greenbank, down in
I
the
don't
lower
know
part of
Greenbank.
Tower Road.
Yeah,
Oh, all
It
right.
was all Irish.
Yes.
All the five fields.
But
That's right.
there were
Big
two
five
big
field,
clumps,
yeah, family.
and the north end, like Ralph says, the north end, big section of the north end
Yeah.
was Irish.
Yeah.
And
So sort of four
most
different
of-
little boroughs.
None of them, very few lived above Barrington Street. Right?
weren't allowed.
That's right.
Well, Frank, somebody gave me a book and it was
No Irish need apply.
That's right.
How the Streets in Halifax Got Their Name. It's is a title on the book, and I'll name the streets or something. And it's pretty explicit how Queen Street got its name and how Colbert Road got its name and how the first tree was down in Colbert Road. But there was a big piece in there about how the Irish community did move to the Dutch Village Road area.
Yeah.
And they were so far removed from the rest of the other groups, but they survived it out there.
Just a little bit of trivia. Quinpo Road, guess where that name came
It's got to
from?
be a Quinn, is it?
Quinn's Pool out in Dutch Village.
Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
where the name
So an
came
Irishman.
from.
Yeah. Must have done well for himself.
Huh?
Must have done well for
Not
himself.
necessarily.
No, okay.
Oh, they were Irish, that's what they
Yeah,
more
yeah,
or less.
yeah, oh yeah. They were kicked out of there and they went and
Yeah.
made up out there.
Right.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
But
That's right. I
some of the
suppose.
names that I remember that were prominent in Irish. From what my grandma told me, was of course Moriarty, Scanlon, O'Leary, Quinn, Felix Quinn, Senator Quinn, A.T. O'Leary,
Oh, yeah.
huh? A.T.
Yes.
O'Leary,
Yeah.
W.B. Moriarty,
Moriarty.
Matthew Scanlon. They became, I wouldn't call them a gang, but they became known as the Irish Mafia. The only way they survived in Halifax was to become politically powerful. Is that right?
Yeah, sure it was. Yeah, I don't know, I was saying to John earlier, memory is not a great feature of my background. So some of the things that I think I remember, I'm not sure of. Alan was, my brother was had a lot better retention of things like that, but I know that the names that came to mind, all within the area where we lived very close, were like Delaney, Casey, O'Shaughnessy. O'Shaughnessy. O'Shaughnessy, remember O'Shaughnessy? We used to call it O'Shaughnessy's Hospital. Still there, at the corner of Kennard and Kennard North and Goddington Street. And I guess what it was, like, a clinic, eh? But it was called...
Like a laying-in place, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, and all the Irishmen went there.
Yeah.
And
Another name was...
he was quite a guy.
Houlihan was the other name.
Houlihan, yeah, was a good friend of mine who lived
Well, the
over.
Hoolihans did live up on the corner of South Bland and Main Street.
They did.
And
But
that
they
was
also
Irish.
lived in
That's Bob
Irishtown.
Mitchell.
A lot of Houlihans in Irishtown,
Yeah.
down Water Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the one of the ones I went to school with lived on West Street. And Noble, Harry Noble, a very good friend of ours when we were younger, because Harry had a glass eye. And we wanted to get out of school early for the day. We'd get Harry to pop his eye open. Two of us would have to help him home.
Oh, yeah. We never
see something like
had that advantage, did we?
No.
We just had to steal out.
I got kicked out.
Yeah, we got kicked out.
By the way, he kicked me out.
Harry was one of the most favored guys in school, and he was crazy as a bedbug. Yes, all you had to do is say, Harry, let's get out of here. And I was going to, first went to school at Kennard Street, It's still there, the building's still there, it's still a daycare center or something now, corner of Kennard and Creighton. And the two, I remember the teachers, they remembered me. Miss Kennedy, an Irish lady, and Stone. Miss Kennedy was first grade, Stone was second. And one of the fellows that I met when I went there was Cyril White. I don't know if Cyril's still alive or not, but we didn't get along very good together. So the first day I'm in school, we got into a fight in the class. And that was my introduction to how they treated you with the pointer. Wasn't for pointing at all, it was for whacking you over the knuckles. But
You're getting back to the people down, the Irish people downtown, and they moved from what we call the original Irishtown. They moved over to Graham and went to Blower Street. And then to help themselves, they built their own recreation center, which is now on Argyle Street, which is called Hirshhorn Hall.
oh, yeah.
What was the name of it first, Frank?
Young Men's Temperance and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
You remember
That's where
that?
they all learned to
Men's
drink.
Temperance and what?
That's where we all learned to drink.
What was it called? The Young Men's?
St. Mary's Young Men's Temperance
Yeah.
and Benevolent Association.
That's where they all
Were you all
Were
That was an
learning?
Irish joke, wasn't it? That was an Irish joke.
That's wonderful.
Oh, sort of, yeah, it was.
Later on, it evolved around, and then the work that I was doing in television, we used to rehearse up on the third floor. So it was always Irish.
Did you guys know O'Shaughnessy? I thought all the Irish people in Halifax went to him as a doctor. No?
Dr. O'Shaughnessy, I know the name, but.
Big guy. I remember when I was probably 12, not long before Kane family broke up and we moved around. I went to him one day for some, I didn't need to be there, but I went there for him. Anyway, he told me a joke that I could remember, which was about, because he was talking about a colleague, a doctor who had rather a bad reputation in town. And he said, this young priest moved in the town, and he was quite well liked, but he started to have quite a few health problems. And anyway, at those days, and the government didn't pay for anything, and they didn't have any credit that I know of any better than anybody else, a priest. So he was there quite a bit and getting a lot of treatment, and he was really worried about how he was going to deal with pain. So the doctor said to him, so O'Shaughnessy said anyway, he said, look, I'll make a deal with you. He said, I'll do my best to keep you out of heaven if you do your best to keep me out of hell.
Another little bit of trivia about YMTNBA, Young Men's Temperance and Benevolent. We played baseball, this is later years, we played baseball, and we finished junior ball, we're too old for junior, and there was no place to go, the intermediate ball in Dartmouth, So a bunch of us, Dennis Hagan, my cousin Tom McDonald, Jack Flynn, Joe Fultz and myself, there was 5 of us, went over to Dartmouth, going to play for St. Peter's Young Men Temperance and Benevolent Association. Anyway, St. Peter's Club, but it was and the coach said he tried out, and he said, we want you to 5 of you. He said, no, you have to sign a pledge.
Oh.
And I looked at this
very
Dennis
Irish.
Hagan. Dennis says, what does he mean, Frank? I said, with the beer, Dennis. I want to hear it. I started to walk out, and the coach, just a minute, fellas, just a minute. I'll be back. I said, don't go away. So he came back a little later on, he made a phone call. I got this station for you. So we played ball over there.
And drank.
Back to the Irish
I
town.
have a picture home, Kelly, of my grandfather, Jim McDonald. He was the parade marshal of the AOH St. Patrick's Parade.
That's what I was just going to say, yeah.
I was hoping to get to that. Good.
And he was parade marshal. I have a picture of Granddad McDonald at a picnic in McDad's Island, St. Mary's Young Men Temperance and Benevolent Association, and I'm sure there was lots of beer there.
He was an older man, and my grandmother always told us that every Easter morning, my grandfather would get up and he would boil a dozen eggs and eat a dozen eggs for breakfast every Easter morning without fail. Didn't she? She swore it.
I asked Grandma once, I said, how come Granddaddy died so young? She said he dug his grave with his knife and his fork. I guess he could eat like anything. But that was a real Irish household.
Yes.
I remember my grandmother, God love her, she used to go down the Masonic Lodge on Barrington Street and play cards with a bunch of the Irish women.
45s, yeah.
That's Masonic Lodge?
Masonic Lodge.
45s, yeah, down where the old Capitol Theatre is and where the corner of Salter Street there anyway. So she'd get all gutted up in her little black round hat and her black suit and her mother provided for her. She'd go down and borrow her mother's tram pass, because it was $1.25 in those days. And she'd go down, the gun was transferable, so she'd go down there, but I had to go down. If I didn't go down and meet her outside the Masonic Lodge, I had to wait for her at the bus stop and on the Carlton
Yeah,
Street.
we used to toss coins, who was going to go.
See who had to go.
Yeah, right.
But she'd come down and play cards every whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday night, then she'd come back on the tram car or whatever. I remember one time she got off the tram car on Carlton Street and her hat blew off. Landed a bunch of horse shit on the street. Nothing to her on it. That's the way they were.
God.
Yeah.
You had a real loyalty to St. Mary's Parish. You would
Yeah.
appreciate my feeling there.
Our whole family did, really.
Yeah, I imagine it did.
Yeah.
But I was, say 12 or 13, I think, and the household broke up. So I ended up down in my aunt's on Smith Street, down the south end. And of course, then it was, where do you go to school? So it was College Street
Or St. Mary's.
or St. Mary's, and I said, no way. So my father was pretty good. He talked to me and tried to, but if I could give him some half decent, sometimes it wasn't great reason probably, but he'd accept it. So anyway, I ended up that I went to St. Pat's School, but I never was quite enthusiastic about going to school. So moving that far away didn't help too much because I picked the scenic route. So I'd walk up from there up Water Street and then up Cornwallis, walk past the sheds. You know what was on Water Street those days? There's a lot of interesting places on Water Street.
Bootleggers.
Those bootleggers, a few funny houses. One day I'm walking up the street, and I was always late. Every day I was late for school. And teachers weren't too pleased with me. But I told them, I wanted to be there. I'm going somewhere else. St. Pat's was the place for me. I'm walking up the street this day, and the Canes, Joe and Albert were in. Joe was working then with the railway, so I'd nip in for a minute to see them. Anything to kind of break up the long journey. And I came out of the freight shed there, and just as I came out, here comes this guy out through the window, sitting in a chair. Whammo, right down he goes. It's one of the famous places, and
Somebody threw him out a window?
threw him out, sitting in the chair.
Good.
He come out through that window sitting in a chair.
Well,
And the cop was there down the bottom of the hill, and it was the fellow used to, oh God, I can't think of his name. The fellow used to like a drink and used to start directing traffic at
Hector
corner.
Needham.
Huh?
Hector
He was,
Needham.
yeah, I think it was. He directing traffic on Barrington and
Yeah.
Sackville or wherever.
Not Sid Clark.
No. it wasn't.
Before Sid.
And he'd keep backing down the hill. Then the next thing you know, he'd be down directing it the next street. And they'd come along with the wagon and pick him up eventually. Take him home.
I was growing up, and my brother Tom, we lived in Edward Street, and went to college for school.
okay.
And every Thursday before First Friday, we belonged to St. Thomas Aquinas Church then. Every Thursday before First Friday, we got lined up
Routine.
and marched over.
Confession.
The nuns weren't allowed, they were cloistered, right? They were the older students, marched over St. Thomas's for confession.
Yep.
We go in the church, and Sister Ann Catherine St. Thomas,
Yeah, we know her.
and she'd say, "Oh, College Street, down the back." So we'd all go down the back,
And that's
St.
true.
Thomas's, we'd all get those confessions heard, and then we get moved up. So then we moved. We moved to Carlton Street, and we're now at St. Mary's Parish. And says I, good. Now we get a better treatment. So down there, Sister Rose Catherine, College Street, down the back. So you talk about prejudice. Nobody liked College Street through because they were all jealous of us.
That's what it was. Probably, jealousy.
Your old Mother Leahy at College Street School, if,
Oh,
you know,
God, yeah, that's another story.
if the Lord had made any other saints, boy, she had to be number one.
Yeah,
What a lady.
yeah.
She treated me with force and strength. We're talking about being hit with a pointer. Do you ever see a 6-foot principal stand on a chair and beat you with a leather strap? She wanted to get the pressure.
Good for her.
That's the truth. She was in class one day and she said, "I have to go. And I have to do some business and you're all on your honor."
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And I
geez.
said, "This is the gospel truth." I said to myself, what the hell? I don't know, I did the 4 times table or read a book, I don't know what it was. Well, anyways, when she came back in, she said, "Okay, who misbehaved? You're all on your honor.
Yeah.
They all put their hands up but me." I said, "Mother, I didn't do a thing." She took
Now there's-
she took the whole row into her office and she beat them 2 or 3 times. Every one of them.
Oh, Lord.
Fred, I went in the little library next to her radiate office.
Yeah.
She stood up on a little small chair and she said, "Hold out your hand." She gave me 2 dandies. She said, "Sorry, but I gotta do that." But that's the way she was. And she treated me the other side of the coin. When she caught some kids smoking a cigarette, she'd take the cigarettes from them.
Yeah.
Then if it was a class, a health class, because I didn't like sitting in a health class, kind of bothered me a little bit. She said, "Fred, come up, I want to speak to you." And I go up, and she said, "Here." And she gave me a pack of cigarettes. She said, "Go down to the basement and see the janitor and have a cigarette." So that's the way Mother Leahy was with me. They couldn't do better. No way you tried.
Did you have all nuns? Were you taught by all
All
nuns?
Initially, they were all nuns, but that's, later on, through evolution, we had
That's what
another.
wrong with you too.
Mother Isabel Page and Mother Miss McCarthy came and Mr. a man, I forget his name now, but initially
I
they
went-
were all.
They were all nuns when I left,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And we lived in flats, Kelly. The Duggans lived over us. Now, John Duggan was one of Mother Leahy's favorites, right? And one day she says, "John," they kept the nuns had a truck garden, a big garden on College Street,
Oh, yeah.
where the parking lot is now, a big garden. They grew all their own vegetables. "John," she says, "I want you to go over to the market and get some sheep manure for the thing." And John said, "My God, Mother, I'll need some help." "Who do you want?" She says, "Frankie Martin." "All right, now it's a different grade, a lower
God.
grade. Go down, tell Mother McGuigan, or whoever it was, that you're going to take Frankie over and to help." We started over across this little hill. They opened one of the bags, and she went over and started throwing at each other. We got back to the place, Mother Leahy said, "You two get the hell home. Get the bath and change your clothes." We stuck the hell in. That's what she liked, though. I met her after they got out of their uniforms, and I met her at a funeral at St. Mary's Basilica. This is the kind of lady she was. And I walked on, she said, "Martin!" I turned around and said, "My God, Mother, I thought they shot you." And she says, "You haven't changed," but I says, "You sure have. You're going to kill me. I'll kill you, I'll kill you." But that, you could say that to her. That's the kind of a lady she was.
What about the Christian Brothers? You were mentioning the Christian Brothers, like either at St. Mary's or at St. Patrick's Boys' Home or whatever, sort of.
Frank was taught by the Irish Christian Brothers.
I have a picture of my Uncle Paddy and his friend taken at the gates through Garden Road by the Glebe House. That was the Sal Academy, and that was taught by the Brothers of the Christian School. That was one of the first Catholic schools in Halifax. But then later on, the Irish Christian Brothers came and took over. And I went to seminary with the Irish Christian Brothers.
Right.
They were a different breed of people altogether.
That was Bishop O'Donnell, wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't that Bishop O'Donnell brought them into transition?
I forget who brought
Think
them
it
all.
was.
It was before Bishop O'Donnell, 1913. Anyway, they were, you didn't get kept in after school at all, ever.
Right.
You got a dump across the year.
Okay, all right.
So it was much more enjoyable.
Right.
It didn't last very long. But they were good men. They were the ones we had anyway, as far as I know. They were good teachers. They were good men. They were good, a lot of good athletes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they played
That's
soccer. They played rugby
Right.
and handball. Handball up in Virginia.
Yeah.
We had handball courts up there. And we used to play handball with them. And Brother Lynham was the all-Ireland
Maybe you should.
Oh, so he was really from Ireland.
Maybe you should
Oh, yeah.
explain what handball is.
Most of them were. Not they all of them were. Right?
Maybe you should explain what handball is.
Oh, handball. You know what handball is.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Anyway, it's a game.
Handball court.
It's a game played
There you
with a small India rubber
Oh, yeah. Okay.
against courts, walls.
Very large
Thank you for the
wall.
clarification.
Yeah, yeah. And we had lots of competitions.
This day and age.
We play handball with Brother
Yeah, that's
Lynham,
true, Fred.
like
Never
Mr.
thought of that.
Kelly.
Was he the only actual Irish
No,
brother?
a lot of them were Irish.
Were from
Brother
Ireland.
Lynham, Brother Kelly,
Pretty well.
Brother Cornelia.
That's the name I remember.
Most of them were Irish.
Were from Ireland.
Yeah. Brother Keeley, Brother Keogh. Brother Keogh was my Latin teacher. And we played, he played,
Wonderful childhood,
he
isn't it?
played
All
partners,
those
you know,
brothers
like
and
handball. Each fellow
I
had
mean it.
Yeah.
both inside the court. And I'd be playing with Brother Lynham, Brother Keogh.
They had
And
groups.
he'd say, and he was supposed to get the bloody ball because he was getting too lazy. He said, "Get that ball, Martin, or I'll fade you in Latin." That's the kind of guy he was. And Brother Lynham was there, and there was a brother
Brother Lynham, sorry, was all Ireland in what sport?
handball.
In handball. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
And Brother Lynham would be there, and he'd be doing this, and be watching. He said, "Give him one of your corkers, Martin." A corker was a bottom board.
Oh, okay.
Bottom board hit the
It's
bottom.
like a squash.
and it
Okay.
would come out
Like a shot,
on,
whatever.
on the floor. You
Right.
couldn't return it.
Yeah,
But it had to hit the wall.
right,
Not the
And
floor.
what you
Not
try
the
to do,
floor.
hit it right in the corner.
right.
Or hit
Then
the
something-
wall.
Right,
and
And
it
then
came up like
things
that.
disappear.
And that's what he'd say. Give him one of your corkers, right? But they were good. They were good men.
Then to evolution, we got the Jesuits.
Yeah.
I got the Jesuits.
Yeah.
Before you got to the Jesuits, I remember something about the Irish Christian Brothers. That's when we got St. Patrick's Boys home.
They weren't the Irish Christian Brothers.
They
No.
were for a while,
No,
No,
no, they
weren't
weren't.
they?
No.
No, they were the brothers of the Christian schools again.
Oh, okay, all right, no, all right. Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah. They used to do quite a bit with the kids, and I had a journey out towards there one day.
We used to play softball there all the time.
Well, they used to make a rink. I made the mistake of jumping on a rink uninvited and got into it. This guy comes over and tells me to get off, and so I've been paying attention to him. Turned out to be one of them. Okay, so I got a whack behind the ear,
Yeah.
and I gave him a little bit of a crack. I thought the better thing to do when I saw 2 or 3 others come and get the hell out of there. But anyway, yeah, that I remember that school.
Then the Christian Brothers, they left, and then the Jesuits came in. And you went to Tech, and I went to St. Mary's. And I got involved with football, and high school football, and then was Father George, and Mr. Crow, and Mr. Hayden, and Father Hank McCarthy, the man, the Dean of Discipline. Don't fool with Mr. McCarthy. All students had to enter the high school by the back door. And if you were late, you were in trouble. You got a whack and the whole works. And the same thing applied. Everything was under control. We played football, be it on the commons, or out in the
Hyde Park.
regular place. And you went back in and you have a shower and went down to the shower room and you all stripped off and you 3, 1, 2, 3. You stand in the shower. You hit the switch. 1 minute.
Oh, water coming.
1 minute. That's it. Lather up. Number 2. 3 minutes to 3, you're gone. That's it. That's where it was.
The Irish Christian
But
Brothers.
a good man too.
Right. It was $60 a year of tuition.
At St. Mary's?
Well, McCarthy's the man I asked. He taught religion, and I asked him, and I never forgot it. I don't want to get into it now. I just want to tell you what he told me. And I said, Father, what is eternity? How long is eternity? And he said, if you had a granite rock as large as this building, and a sparrow landed on it for a long time, that's eternity. You figure it out. That's the way it was. That's the way he was. Yeah. Good man.
It was $60 a year tuition when I went there, and it was $10 a year. I call it athletic fees, because they had the old American football, the old leather helmets.
Sure.
We played American sixes and all that stuff. But anyway, it was pretty cheap. And if 2 guys from the family went together, the second guy went for half price.
Right.
If 3 of the family went, the third guy went for nothing. So that's the reason they got rid of the Irish Christian Brothers, because they weren't making any money.
Right, right. Because you
but
have Irish
they were
families with
doing-
5 and 6
I know
boys, right?
3 guys that were prominent in their profession over the years that went to Maurice College. They had no money. They staked them. The bishop or the brothers staked them, and of course they paid them back. But they even $60 a year they couldn't afford that. But they staked them. So they were good men. But as I say, that's the reason, the main reason, as far as I'm concerned, why they left or why they were out to
Couldn't make any money.
because it was costing them money.
Right, right,
But they get a good education.
right.
Malcolm Jenigan, he wasn't
Yeah, we
Irish.
had guys from college from
Yeah.
Bloomfield's couldn't come there.
They had to take Irish history.
Oh, yeah,
Does that
sure.
make any difference?
Sure.
Oh, you mean Catholic or
Doing them
just
good.
Oh, right. No, I was just thinking Irish, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously all Catholic. yeah.
all the teachers were partly Irish.
Right, right. But the students didn't have to be or anything
Yeah.
like that.
You
No.
didn't have to be a Catholic to go there, not
Right.
at
Oh, wow. Wow.
all.
As
Private
long as you had the
school.
$60.
Huh?
As long as you had the $60.
As long as you had the $60, or if you didn't have the $60.
No,
Yeah.
They'd spot you.
They made arrangements, somebody made arrangements to help you in those days, that's for sure.
St. Mary's Church. My memory of the church, St. Mary's Basilica, Mary's Cathedral then, was all Irish. All the priests were Irish. Everyone that I can remember ever went through there was an Irishman, or Irish descent.
Right.
Bishop O'Donnell,
Huh?
Yeah.
Bishop O'Donnell,
Oh, Bishop O'Donnell, yeah,
Yeah.
Bishop O'Donnell. But the priests and of course, as a result, I think that the parish itself maintained its Irishness because of it.
Right.
I tell you the story. Nettie Doyle, he was an Irishman, Irish born, and Nettie was an usher. Those times you paid 10 cents for your seat.
Really?
You had a seat collection. As you came in, you put 10 cents in the seat collection
Right.
tray, yeah.
and went up. If you didn't have it, they didn't refuse you.
Right.
But if you had it, you put 10 cents in. Anyway, Nettie Doyle was there, and my Uncle Tom had the curse of the drink. And he told me one day, he says, Frankie was up to bootleggers one day, And the bootlegger says to me, Tom, there's a little old Irishman comes up here, and he buys a bottle of rum on Sunday morning, and he pays for it
In dimes.
nickels and dimes. You know? But that's the story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the character, the people in that parish, you know? And it maintained that whole area was still Irish to me.
Right,
Of course, I'm prejudiced,
indeed.
but it still is Irish.
Sorry.
But
Right.
just being a member of St. Mary's Parish maintained my Irishness.
And our grandfather and grandmother are buried in
And
all of that.
And
Oh,
all
okay.
of that.
And Mount Olivet.
Yeah.
Okay, so right downtown.
And I was thinking this morning a bit, I think, I don't know what brought it on, but in those days when Irishtown was where it is, you know, say below Soap Park Street, for example, how come grandma and grandfather's buried in Mount Olivet? It's almost like when we were kids growing up, and they started a church in Sackville, and the gate of heaven was thought, how in the hell, what's a great grand doing in Gate, you know?
Yeah.
I'd probably be the same thing in the
Probably.
time
Yeah.
period, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, both our grandparents showed in Holy Cross, or Mount Olivet,
right.
and our parents are down there.
Yeah, funny bit of trivia. My great-grandparents were buried in Holy Cross. And I used to go down every once in a while, drop in and say a little prayer by the headstone. I went down there one day, she was flat on the ground, as a oak, right.
Somebody broke them down.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I was going to make arrangements to have it fixed up. And I met one of the workers in there, and I said, how do I arrange about getting this? Would you mind if I put it back together? I'll put it back for you. I said, how much that going to cost? He said, it'll cost you nothing. So they put it back up. It was down yesterday. It's still standing now.
Oh, okay.
Straightened it all out and
Right.
put it back up.
A lot of them are.
That's where most of the archbishops are buried over the years down at Holy Cross, for the most part.
Right.
Maybe there were some more recent years, maybe some out there now, I don't know, but
Oh, I imagine.
you know, the first 3 or 4 rows down here are all elevated clergy.
Right.
And you know about
Some-
the church down there, Kelly, do you?
No,
Built in one day.
There's a chapel in there, but one day.
built in one day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Frank and I go there every year. They have a
They have
ceremony there, All Souls Day. It's All Souls Day?
No.
All Saints Day.
Well, so, no, it's September the 15th.
Yeah,
I don't know
every
what-
year, and we go down there and they have,
Anniversary of their opening, I guess.
It's a small chapel, is it? Oh, must be, yeah.
yes,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not that large,
Right,
but they,
but
in fact,
built in a day.
they whacked it up one day. Yeah.
When was that? When would they have done that?
Oh, God, no.
I'll turn to the historian.
1850 something,
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
How long after the cemetery is open?
Right. Yeah. I did want to ask you a little bit more about the Ancient Order of Hibernians, because I don't know anything about that. Sort of like I didn't know they ran a parade, for
They
example.
ran-
They had a clubhouse out in the corner of Cooper Road,
Cooper Road and
and
Monastery
Monastery Lane.
Okay.
3-story building, wasn't it?
Two-story, I
It
think.
was pretty tall. Pretty,
Maybe three.
maybe because I was smaller.
Yeah, and I remember
Look big.
following Jim Mulcahy,
It's a green building, wasn't it?
Yep.
kind of
Big
like
green building, yeah.
light green, yeah. And Jim
Thank you.
Mulcahy was sort of the caretaker. I wouldn't call him a caretaker, but Jim was always there looking after it. And they sponsored baseball teams, hockey teams, dancing, and drinking tournaments. No, nobody did. But they did sponsor hockey, baseball, and dances. And they had card nights.
Right.
But it was an active association.
And that whole block was tied together, we spoke about, was that place, and the Home of the Good Sheep. Home
Yeah.
of the Good Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next door, they did a bit of a laundry sometime, took laundry and commercially.
Oh, yeah,
Then there was
Our
the chapel, was a church chapel,
yeah,
That's
and then
right.
there was a seminary,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then
St. Joseph's Orphanage.
the orphanage, and then St. Mary's High School football field where we used to play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With the whole block.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It disappeared quite quickly.
yeah.
Didn't it? Yeah.
But
yeah.
that was big, the AOH was a big association. Years before that, they used to have parades on either St. Patrick's Eve, probably St. Patrick's Eve, because those times St. Patrick's Day was not a holiday.
Right.
So they would probably have it in either
Right.
St. Patrick's Eve or St. Patrick's night, and they'd get into a fight with the Orangemen, and they, old Johnny Martin. Remember Johnny Martin, Prince John Martin, St. Pat's?
Oh, yes.
He used to call it the Calthumpian Parade. Where it came from.
That's where that came from.
Yeah.
It's not too different from
I've
over in
heard you
Ireland.
say
The
that
Orange-
before, I
the
never knew
Orangemen
where it
and
came
the
from.
Mickey's fighting, that's what it was.
Huh?
Yeah.
The Orangemen and the Mickey's fighting, the same idea.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But I remember the parades.
But it was a very active
Tabs on,
society.
buttons on, and bows and
I
pins.
think Archbishop O'Donnell was the one, he was the guy that banned the parades.
Too violent.
Too violent, yeah, oh, yeah. It might have been him, it might have been somebody
It
before.
was. We were losing.
No, that's right.
Heaven forbid.
There were too many people disappearing.
Yeah, yeah.
Where did the Orangemen come from?
What I should, oh gee, there's,
Just South End? Just sort of,
I
they show up
don't
on
know
St.
where they
Patrick's Day.
gathered.
What's that?
The Orangemen.
Where'd they come
Orangemen?
from? Like, why would they show up on St. Patrick's Day just for the fight?
They had a lodge out around, what around the Arm somewhere, right around, lower part of Upper Road, I think.
they were around, all right, but I don't
No,
know.
down on Hollis Street, the LOBA, down on Hollis
Yes.
Street. Hollis Street. Down by the PPO Elks,
Yeah.
down that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah, that's right, yeah.
How'd they get in?
Right
there?
in Irishtown.
Yeah,
Right in
how'd they get there?
Irishtown. Oh my word.
Jeez,
Yeah.
they lived dangerously.
Yeah,
The stuff from Salter, wasn't it around the corner in that way?
hey, I don't know, I can't remember.
Hollis, Salter, down, the government house was there and then it was in there somewhere,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
It must be one of the places still there.
I think the building's still there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I was wondering if people were at all aware of sort of the political situation in Ireland. So did people talk about the Free State, or did people get the papers, or were people sort of conscious of what was happening over there?
There
Or
Not that I'm aware of, but Grandma used to get a magazine or a paper.
did she?
Yeah,
I remember
but
that.
There was a society in Halifax, I forget the name of it now, but it was a society that was formed to provide support for Irish rights in Ireland.
Oh,
It
okay.
was some kind of a gazette, Frank, as I remember. The paper, she used to get a paper,
Well, I used to bring our boys home to her
whatever.
from the school, from St. Mary's.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. The Irish Christian Brothers.
But this was,
That's what it was.
Right.
but there was a society, I forget the name of it now, Kelly,
You're right.
but it didn't last very long,
Right.
but there was one.
To support the Free State and to support the
Yeah,
political developments and that's.
Right, maybe that was the name, it was the Port of the Free State.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember the exact name, but it was very vehement. The members were very vehement, but it just kind of died out because I think they just got trampled on.
Right.
From what I can gather.
Right.
They didn't have a lot of encouragement from anywhere else.
No, that's right, they didn't. They didn't. I wish I knew more about it, but I don't.
Can you tell me a little bit about sort of politics, either politicians who are Irish or just generally how the Irish tended to vote? Like, did they vote along Irish lines or along Catholic lines or that sort of thing? Did you
Well,
see?
we had,
So I can't tell you
we
that.
had lace curtain Irish, and we had Irishtown Irish. The lace curtain
Yeah.
Irish were the Murphys, the Donahues. They were the more very prominent, of course. Huh?
Yeah.
They were lace curtain Irish. They were conservative. The poor old worker stuff was a liberal.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That was my
Your political
impression
lesson.
of
Right.
politics that I those days.
Was there anybody from Irishtown or from down that area who became powerful politically?
Well, oh yeah.
Donahoe.
Right.
Senator Felix Quinn.
Okay.
Yeah.
A.T. O'Leary,
Okay,
Richard Donohoe,
Richard Donoghue, certainly,
yes.
the Murphys,
yeah. Oh, yeah. J.
W.B. Moriarty, my cousin. He ran the provincial bottle exchange, was also a bootlegger, but he was also the important ward healer for the Liberal Party
Oh, okay.
in Halifax. That's how they existed. Their early times is the only way that they could advance was to become politically powerful, and they did.
Exactly.
And like I told you earlier, they had an Irish mafia, not like the Sicilian mafia, but they had a large number of Irish people, very prominent, were very powerful politically. Yeah, but that's right. The lace curtain Irish were all conservatives, and the workers still were all liberals.
That seems about right.
And they're still the same.
Yes, it is.
At that time, of course, bootlegger was an honorable profession.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
Well, no, there's only
Every bootlegger went into it.
was the only
The
outlet.
second part of the wall, right?
They did well.
Yeah.
Okay.
As well, yeah.
There's some nice houses around.
Oh, yeah.
Built on bootlegging?
Rosie and I, Maurice Rose and I used to go around and scope those places and get to know a bit about what was going on, because we had to report the news. And there's one on Whimper Road. Now I barely remember. I think I could find it still around, I know. But it seemed to me that they were rossiters. I know they were. And-
Oh, certainly they were.
Yeah, and they had,
They were big bootleggers.
they were probably the most prominent people in town.
Rossiter and Chisholm.
Yes, it's Chisholm, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
remember going to the Dauphin, remember the Dauphin?
And W.B. Moriarty. W.B.
that
used to
one.
go to the orphanage, St. Joseph Orphanage, and he would get the sisters that ran the orphanage to pray for safe delivery of his load.
Sure.
And he would
Why
promise,
not?
and he promised a case of alcohol wine. And that's the truth. That's the truth.
Where
That's awesome.
were they bringing in from the Magdalen Line?
I don't know.
Oh, geez.
Anywhere
Nickel.
it is.